Hello, everybody. Welcome to this LinkedIn Live, where we'll be talking about alcohol, sleep, and performance. I'm really happy today to have Adam Smith join me as a guest. He's quite a famous person, I'd say, within the LinkedIn community when it comes to alcohol. He's the co-founder of A Game, who are a high-performance consultancy coaching business which have a particular focus around alcohol-free living. So got quite a few questions I've had messaged before this, so I'll be asking him. And during this live, if you do have questions, if you want to interact with us, put it into the comments. And the last 15 minutes, we'll be going through any questions we get asked. So welcome, Adam.
Hi, bud.
And I guess for those who maybe don't know you, if you could give a very quick introduction to what you do. And I've got a few questions to ask you quite soon.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a co-founder of a business called A Game Consultancy. So it's me and my business partner, who's also called Adam, which is quite confusing for some people. We formed around, what is it now, 3.5 years ago. So we primarily help people stop feeling like shit, to put it in a nutshell. So we look at everything from removing alcohol from their lives, gaining clarity around what they want in the future. We look at their nutritional therapy, whether they want personal training programs implemented. We look at people's blood tests. We can do DNA testing. There's all sorts of different things that we work on under the banner of A Game. But essentially, it's helping high performers perform even better. There's always another level, and that's what we very much are advocates of at A Game. So that's it in a nutshell, mate. Yeah.
And I mean, I can speak from personal experience, like having drops in productivity, consistency, feeling like shit. I mean, I've been there, isn't good. And I think a lot of us maybe consciously aware of it or we're subconsciously aware of it. From your experience and working with people, what is the impact of alcohol on productivity?
I mean, I could be here all day. I'll try and keep it as concise as possible. It's the compound effect. Whether you're drinking 5 beers a night, whether you're drinking 1 beer a night, of course, yes, there might be different responses to the amount of alcohol you consume. However, that 1 beer is going to ruin your sleep. So let's say you have a bad night's sleep. Let's say the kids come running in the morning and they're screaming and they're jumping all over you. You've got a little bit of brain fog. You'd be quite agitated. You might check your phone first thing. You've just introduced several micro stressors and you've not even left the bed yet. So kids are screaming, kids are crying, emails pinging off. You've not had a chance to do anything. You've not regulated any of your emotions. You're comparing yourself to strangers straight away on the internet. You wake up, oh no, I've not got my gym gear out. Oh, I've not prepped my breakfasts. And this is a bit of an exaggerated version, but this is what most people are doing, especially the ones that I speak to. So the common objection to all of this, of course, which I'll get to in a second, but the main thing is that people go, well, I did that and I still went to the gym. I had 1 beer and I'm fine, and I'll come to that later. But this is the reality for a lot of people. So then they go downstairs, haven't prepped any breakfasts, haven't got the kids' stuff ready whatsoever. Now they're getting angry and more frustrated at the family. They might have an argument with their partner because they're both agitated due to poor lack of sleep. Then they'll have a sugary or high saturated fat breakfast because you're craving it more, because when you drink more alcohol, you crave more sugar and more of the high fat foods to, air quote, sober up. Then you'll sit in traffic for 30 minutes. You'll get agitated in traffic. You'll go to work, other stressful things happen. Don't eat the best lunch. Don't get outside, especially when it's bad weather. Who can go outside when it's bad weather, right? And then sit down all day, drive home, probably kids screaming again, get annoyed at them. Then you go, oh, I need a beer. So it's not the thing that's going to help you de-stress. It's the thing that's usually causing the stress. Unfortunately, we've got a very positive association to the alcohol, which has been there for a very long time, which is the drink it and go, It takes around 5 minutes for your brain to register it's actually consuming alcohol. So it's really a placebo effect, and it's attachment, and it's a story that you've put to the drinking of the liquid. And doesn't that feel better? It's just not factually correct. So you can replace that with an alcohol-free alternative. So you still have the same feeling, the same placebo effect, because the drug hasn't kicked in yet. So that's the simplest way to sort of get past it, as it were. But yeah, it affects everything, mate, because you'll have that 2 p.m. slump. You won't get back to your emails, and then you've got to catch up when you're at home. Then you're not being present at home, and you're not really being present with your emails. So, yeah, it's. I don't think that's an extreme example at all. I think it's happening a lot more frequently than people would like to admit, unfortunately. So then it might compound for a few days afterwards, and this is only after a few beers. Imagine if you go out for 8 or 9. I know some people that drink at lunchtime, and then they go, in the afternoon, they're wondering why they're not performing very well. Well, would you take other drugs and expect to perform at your best? Probably not. And that's essentially what it is, unfortunately. It's just been marketed in a very sexy way for a very long period of time. And I worked with alcohol for 14 years in hospitality. So I've seen firsthand the destructive outcomes that alcohol can have when consumed in the incorrect amounts or when done frequently and what have you. So very long-winded answer, but that's essentially how it can do it. It just compounds over time and makes everything else worse.
Yeah. And I can relate to it. Even like I was never a heavy drinker, but I did a post the other day actually where I was just saying how even drinking 1 day a week is about 14.45% of your week where you're drinking. And I felt it every single day after, and the impact on my productivity and the difference between now and then in my productivity and how I feel each week is considerably better. And that's just from drinking once a week, never mind more. So I've seen it myself. You're dealing with lots of different types of people. Maybe some people are heavy drinkers, some people not. But what are, like, let's say, the first baby steps that you might recommend to people who are sober curious, who maybe want to cut down? Because I remember, even as maybe not a heavy drinker, it was hard because it's like people just make fun of me, they ask me why I'm not drinking, and there's this like drinks around me all the time. It was difficult. Maybe not now, but in the beginning it's so hard. So I'm curious what you'd recommend as like the first baby steps.
It is extremely hard, mate, and none of what I say today is going to be easy, but it's like the old adage that nothing worth having ever is, right? So the first thing is that starting a new habit is difficult. Stopping an old habit, I would argue, is even harder. It's almost like you're on autopilot. So you want to interrupt the habit or hack the habit, as it's known. James Clear talks a lot about this in Atomic Habits, but habit hacking is probably the single most beneficial tool ever. So people say to me, "Oh, you want to stop me drinking?" No, I want you to stop drinking alcohol. Go, "Oh, but you know what I mean." I do know what you mean, but you've said drinking. No, I don't want you to stop drinking the liquid. Because for some people, it might be they're driving home and they pull over and they go to the supermarket and they get 6 beers. Other people, when they do get home, it's opening the fridge, pouring it in, drink it. Then they sit on the sofa. Netflix comes on. Then they know how to relax. I don't want you to stop doing any of that. All I want you to do is swap out the liquid. So alcohol-free beer, does it taste as good? Short term, probably not. It just tastes a little bit different. The same way decaf coffee doesn't taste the same way as normal coffee. Give yourself a week of it, your palate will adjust 100%. It just will. So we're assuming this is like the mid-lane drinker. I'm not referring to alcoholics here. I just want to caveat that. That is a disease. It's something that needs to be treated with respect, and it needs to get the medical attention that it deserves. So I do want to caveat that before I get into this too much. Let's go for Joe Bloggs that's drinking 2 beers a night, wants to stop, right? That's what I'm aiming this at. But if you go down the alcohol-free route, go for alcohol-free beers, Heineken, Guinness, whatever. There are some really good products out there. So not like Beck's Blue. People just think that's the only answer. Tastes like cat piss. Don't do that. So instead, you want to focus on getting a good product that is as close to the real thing as you possibly can, right? To trick the brain almost. So then you still pour it in the glass, you're still drinking it. Fantastic. It's 1/3 of the calories and you're going to be 10 times more productive. And that's why I'll never drink again, mate. This liquid here, it looks the same as this liquid here and it tastes the same pretty much. This one turns me into a fucking idiot and it ruins my sleep and makes me want to crave junk food. This one means I get good sleep, I'm clear-headed, and I go to the gym and I eat well and whatever. Well, which one am I picking? Right? So that's the difficult thing for a lot of people to get their head around. The other thing that I would recommend is just to take a break from going out to bars and late nights. If you can't avoid it and you've got a wedding coming up, okay, yes, it is tricky. Can it be done? Of course it can. You're an adult, you're in control of your decisions, but you just need to use crystal clear and effective communication when you are going to a wedding. If you're that afraid of what your friends are going to think, Most people are fearful of being ostracized or being ridiculed. So if you can caveat that before you attend, you might even want to make up a little white lie. I can't drink this weekend because I'm on antibiotics. If you don't feel confident, if you just feel confident and you own all of who you are, instead you could just say, look, guys, don't just say I'm not drinking Saturday. You're going to get a load of shit usually. Instead, guys, I need to speak to you about something. I'm not drinking at the moment. The reason why is it's really affecting my health. I don't want to go into too much detail around that, but I just don't really feel great right now, and I'd really appreciate your support. You'd be amazed at what can happen, and your friends will go, oh, fantastic. Yeah, how can I do that? Brilliant. I'll help you. Awesome. But the reason why I say avoid bars short term is if you were to wanting to lose weight, for example, you won't be studying Krispy Kreme and McDonald's all day because eventually you're probably going to have a donut or you're probably going to have a burger. So the same way that the temptation is there, the sun's coming out soon, it's barbecue season. All it takes is a friend to say, oh, come on, mate, just have a beer. But then people say to me, well, what'll become boring? It really depends on what your interpretation of boring means. I go out and I socialize and I have a great time still, and I've been nearly 4 years alcohol-free now. It is possible and it can be done. But socializing is like any skill. It just takes time. It's exactly that. It's a skill. Read books on it. Watch YouTube videos on it. We don't lack resources. We lack resourcefulness. Google it. How do I socialize without alcohol? You'll get a million different videos come up on YouTube. We've got videos on it. It's just debunking the bullshit beliefs that you've had for so long that alcohol equates to fun. Because like I said, I've seen it happen several times over where there's nothing fun about what I'm seeing in front of me. I've seen 2 people die in front of me. This again, remember, hospitality, 14 years. You've seen a lot of it. This isn't just randomly walking around the street. But 2 people die in front of me. 3 people have heart attacks, seizures, all related to alcohol. I've seen about 10 mass brawls, people getting stabbed, people getting bottled, people getting hit with high heels. I've seen marriages ended because husband's cheated on wife walks in. Right. I've seen careers get ended at corporate events where someone hits the boss because they're so intoxicated. None of that sounds fun to me. The hangover the next day, the arguments, the missing the kids' parties, all sorts. I could go on and on and on. So I know that people are saying, oh, you're being extreme, Adam. I'm not. This is the reality. I saw it every single week. One of those examples, every single week without fail. It's not that rare. It happens. And that's one bar in one small town, in one small country. So imagine what it's doing the world over. And then people will say, well, I can have 2 and I'm fine. Fantastic. Good for you. However, don't ask yourself what's wrong with it. Just ask yourself what's right with it. Right? That's what I would encourage people to do. So I know that, again, some people have called me like a preacher and people have said that, you're going about it all in the wrong way. I'm super passionate about it, as you can probably tell. But I want to get this out there. I don't give a shiny shit if you drink alcohol or not. It's none of my business. But if you are curious about stopping, then my no bullshit approach tends to work for a lot of people, and I'll help you get out of your own head around it. So I don't care if anyone drinks alcohol. It is literally nothing to do with me. But these tips have helped hundreds of people that I've coached, and they do work, and that all of their lives have got significantly better once they've removed it. So they're the main ones, mate. Habit hacking number 1, use effective communication number 2, and then make sure your environment is set up to succeed, and make sure that you're removing yourself from a air quote trigger that's going to make you want to crave it. I've got loads more, but I'll go with those for now.
No, I appreciate that, and I think it's quite actionable and quite relatable as well. I think the other day I made the post about alcohol. I think quite a few people commenting saying, stop telling us what to do and all these sort of things. And I think what people maybe forget is that the other arguments being said to them their whole life. As you mentioned, we've been marketed by alcohol companies since we were non-existent. Like, alcohol companies been marketing alcohol, showing it's glamorous, fun, exciting for the last 100+ years. Everything in society is pushing people to drink. Films, TV, music, everything. So I think hearing the other side of the argument, people who have a different perspective, is extremely valuable. And I'm very anti-alcohol these days. I'm not mixing my words much about it. And as a post yesterday showed, it pisses some people off. But I know 2 years ago I was making fun of people for not drinking. and I was questioning why people wouldn't drink, and I just didn't like. I was on the other side, so I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big question maybe many people might have is maybe they don't have an issue with alcohol, or they don't feel they do, but they definitely have friends who do, or family members. And I appreciate it's probably extremely difficult, but do you have any advice for people who maybe want to positively influence the loved ones or people around them?
I think the first thing is, be the change that you want to see in them. So, if you're leading by example, that's really all you can do. But you can lean on the crystal clear and effective communication. So, again, so an example, partner says to, I don't know, I don't want to give it like the misconception of the nagging wife routine, but it's a literal example of a client that I've had recently. So he's drinking too much. As simple as that. He's not showing up at home as much as he possibly could do. So his partner said to him, listen, I really want you to stop drinking. It's impacting almost every aspect of our life right now. Okay, yeah, look, I get it. I'm really sorry about the other night. I'll stop. Okay. Weekend comes around. He goes to the football. You've got to have a drink at the football. So he has a couple of beers, has a few more beers, has a few shots, gets home at midnight, wakes up the kids, wakes up the dogs, fucking chaos in the house. Partner goes mental. You said last week that you were going to stop. Honestly, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'll sort it out. I won't drink again. Next week, what happens? Drinks again. So this time she used crystal clear and effective communication. If you carry on drinking, I'm taking the kids. I'm going to stay at my mum's for a few days, and I'm seriously going to consider whether I want to carry on in this marriage or not. It's not a threat. It's effective communication. She said it calmly. She said it rationally. And then he woke up to it. So don't get me wrong. In this instance, there's plenty of examples where the guy or woman doesn't change and they just keep going. So all you can do is all you can do. But unfortunately, I get a message like this probably, I don't want to exaggerate, I'd say twice a week probably from people. My partner drinks too much. My brother drinks too much. I've got a friend that drinks too much. What can I do? Just let them know how it's making you feel, because they can't deny how you're feeling. Your drinking of alcohol is making me feel X. And they might say, that's a you problem, but at least you've done your bit. But that's all you can do. People will change ultimately when they're ready. So, unfortunately, mate, there's not a great deal else I'll say on that, because that's just the reality of the situation.
And based on what you said, it actually has me reflecting a bit on one of the biggest changes for me personally, which is about this effective communication. Because I only learned about attachment styles probably the last year maybe the last year. So I read the book Attached by Amir Levine. And basically no one teaches us how to relate to each other than our parents. Like, it's not taught at school, it's not taught at university. We just kind of, how we are attached to people is based on our experiences. So I realized from this book I had this anxious attachment style, which meant I always had this desire for love, attention. Any argument with a partner felt like the end of the world, which meant that I struggled to do this direct, clear, concise communication. And learning that that's a normal thing, just actually telling people exactly what you want, to me was like mind-blowing. Like I can actually say exactly what I want and be totally honest. Because the fear is, well, if I do that, they're going to leave me or they're not going to love me anymore. And it's like, good, that they're not right. Like, to me, I'm 36 and this has only become clear to me at 35. And it's totally changed my life and relationships. So even outside alcohol, I can't say enough for that sort of way of thinking.
Yeah, it's how I refer to as speaking like a surgeon. So a surgeon, they're still compassionate, they're still empathetic, but they just get to the fucking point. They don't fluff it, they don't sugarcoat it. It's just here, it's neutral. They're not being insensitive, they're not being aggressive. And this, you need to stop drinking. There's a model known as the drama triangle. You've got the victim at the bottom, you've got the rescuer over here, and you've got the persecutor over here. So the victim in this, it doesn't mean a literal victim, it means the victim mindset, the person that's doing the undesirable behavior. Oh, I just wish I could stop drinking. Well, stop going out then, persecutor. Oh, I need to stop drinking. I'm such an idiot. You're not an idiot. You're amazing. We love you. We just want you to stop because of this reason, rescuer. right? So you can break the drama triangle, but that's probably another topic for another day. But when you go into persecutor mode, again, there's something else known as transactional analysis. There's 3 states that we operate from: parent state, adult state, child state. Usually it's judgmental parent, it's rational adult, and it's insensitive or, highly sensitive child that we operate from. So if it's parent state, you need to stop drinking. It's like a command. So therefore we go into defense, we go into our child state, and then we'll respond as a child. You can't tell me what to do. As opposed to rational adult, listen, I need to talk to you about something. I love you more than anything. You're the father, you're the mother of my children. I can't watch you destroy yourself like this, and I'm not going to allow this to destroy our family. So I want to work with you on this, but your drinking has got out of control. How can I best support you with this? Because we really need to work on it as a team. Now, if that person is that highly strung to language like that, like as you just said there, mate, there's probably an issue. You probably do need to leave. You can't really argue with that, though, in my mind, because it's said so calmly. It's said like a surgeon. No matter how much the family begs and pleads, the surgeon is here. No, I'm so sorry. You've got 6 months to live. I'm really sorry. Right? They just speak like this, and they're neutral at all times, whilst also dropping in a bit of empathy and a bit of compassion. So if you can do that, that's just a good tip for anybody in a leadership role, by the way, as well. If you can operate like a surgeon most of the time, you'll have a pretty sweet life, especially when it comes to communication with loved ones or colleagues or employees or what have you.
And again, I can relate to that. When I was in corporate, like I was managing quite big teams in the past, and one of the biggest lessons is literally just saying the truth in a clear, concise, open way, non-aggressive as well, as you say. And it's surprising how hard it is, but how effective it is once you can actually implement that. So I got quite a few questions that were sent to me before.
Okay.
Actually, one that I'll say for myself, actually, just from a core perspective, why do you think people drink? So I know you mentioned habit, but is there more to it than that?
I think, yes, initially we want connection. So it doesn't start, you don't start when you're 15, 16 drinking in parks, which is very common in UK culture. There's usually a version of that. But the relationship with alcohol begins from a very early age. It's the brandy on the tooth, and you're in the pub and you see your dad's friends drinking or your mum's friends drinking, and you might have a little taste of their beer, and you're seeing this thing that adults can have that you can't have, and then you get access to it by getting someone to go to the shop for you, or whatever, or mum and dad go out and you steal some of the thing from the cabinet and you taste it and it tastes like absolute shit. Most of us would probably spit it out or would throw up drinking vodka out of the bottle or cans of beer or what have you. But of course you just want to fit in. Everyone else is doing it, so why would I not do it too? So it begins as that. This is how I help a lot of people stop smoking. They would start smoking at 15, 16, but they're now 40 and still smoking. I said, what did you start smoking for? Oh, to build camaraderie and build rapport, but now it's a habit. I said, well, does it make you feel any better that those people probably stopped smoking 15, 20 years ago? Oh, maybe they smoked for a year and then they hated it and then they stopped, but you're carrying it on in the name of what? So some people do it due to low self-worth. Some people think it's helping them escape their problems. Some people do it because they're so insecure they don't feel like they can socialize. But I would say generally it usually starts with wanting to fit in, and then that materializes over time as this is just something I do. It's part of my identity, so therefore I'll drink more. And then I just do it by habit over and over again, but you don't know where it began. So that's a lot of the work that I do with people, is understanding what their relationship is, where it began, how we can reframe it, and how we can take a break, ultimately.
And again, in terms of identity, I think it's another reason why I think a lot of people, alcohol seems very controversial. It generates both positive and negative comments on social media, because I feel, and I know this as somebody who was kind of pro alcohol in the past, it attacks your identity if people start looking at it, especially in UK. I'm British, as you know, but I'm living in Czech Republic, which has Czech Republic drinks more per capita than the UK. Right. It's better at drinking in some ways here. It's less binge drinking, but there's an awful number of broken households because of alcohol here. And it's, it's an underspoken area around Czech beer is great, but you're not seeing the downside basically in the public image. But its impact is unbelievable. Specifically around sleep, what transformations have you seen in people's sleep after, let's say, jumping off alcohol?
Frightening. So again, I'll give an example. We had someone start with us he signed up for like a year-long course with us. So he started in June last year, and he wanted to stop boozing, but he wasn't overly convinced about how alcohol-free could have all these benefits to it. A very successful businessman, absolutely killing it, flies all over the world, you know, the car, the house, the wife, the dog, the kids, the white picket fence. He's got it all, right? But he, on day 2 of working with us, he got a Whoop band. So the Whoop band obviously tracks your performance, your recovery, your sleep, all the metrics. It's probably the most accurate sleep aid there is. Again, there's probably some debate on that, but let's say it's definitely in the top 3, right? So day 1, he had very high exercise, no beer, right? No wine, no nothing. And he ate really well, and he got to bed at a good time. Recovery, 96%. Day 2, it was his wife's birthday, I believe. He went out and had 2 beers and didn't do any exercise during the day. Recovery, 30%. The next day, he had a couple more beers, very low exercise, 24%. So now he's in the red for people that are on Whoop. Day 4, he's like, I'm sick of feeling like shit, 23%. It can't all be down to beer. He did a 10K run. He did like another, I think, workout later on in the day. He didn't sleep particularly great. He had no booze, drank water, recovery 74%. Oh, surely it can't all be down to booze. I said, look, you're a successful businessman. Would you ignore these numbers if it was applicable in your business? This means, for example, this means more profit. This means less profit. Would you ignore that, or would you follow the data? He's like, I'd follow the data. Well, exactly. We'll do the same with your health then. And that day, everything shifted. Long story short, he's been nearly a year alcohol-free now, lost about 10 kg. So, yeah, flying. But people don't want to look at the fact of what's happening. So it absolutely destroys your sleep. It destroys the REM cycle, the rapid eye movement that you need in order to feel recovered and what have you. And that's just off sometimes 1 or 2 beers. So, yeah, it drastically improves the sleep. But then that, as I said earlier, compounds to the exercise, compounds to the healthy eating, compounds to drinking more water, compounds to getting outside more, getting more vitamin D, or their lack of if you live in the UK. So, yeah, that's essentially just one example. But again, I could give 10 others around that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's helpful hearing this for people because I mean, the science is very clear on alcohol and sleep. It's very little debate. There's very little positive to be said about alcohol, even in the science and sleep. It's all negatives. It's a sedative. You don't get real sleep underneath it, and it has a whole array of issues in terms of sleep quality. And I think for me, it was my sort of aha moment was actually just understanding the science at the end of the day. And I was always put myself as a very analytical, kind of intellectual type person. And once I was actually hit with the facts and the data and understood how it affects my recovery and how it's affecting my real desires in life, it moved from like a nice to have to stop drinking to a must. And I have basically never looked back since that time.
People say to me, like, I've got a good relationship with alcohol. Like, there's no such thing. Let's just replace the word alcohol with cigarettes or cocaine. And people go, oh, cocaine's different. Yes, per capita, if you did like a big line of cocaine or you did half a beer, of course that's different, right? Fine. But would you say that same wording with cigarettes? Oh, I only smoke like 1 or 2 a day. I've got a good relationship with cigarettes. Well, all my mates are smoking, so, you know, it's a nice day. You've got to smoke on a nice day. It's absolute nonsense. So, but people don't just, for non-smokers, if I came up to you and said as a non-smoker, do you want a cigarette, mate? They don't go, oh, no, thanks. They go, I'm not a smoker. They detach from that identity. That's not who I am. I don't want to light a piece of paper on fire with nicotine and tobacco in it and inhale the smoke that comes off it. Right. But it's really the same, unfortunately. It's just been marketed in a different way. Smoking now isn't advertised anywhere. It's lung cancer pictures. The price has gone through the roof. It's disgusting. If you smoke, you're outcast now, and people are vaping instead, because who doesn't want to, inhale fucking candy floss fumes in their lungs? That'll be good for you. But the alcohol, unfortunately, the advertising's fucking genius. It'll be like Bud Light, 2 hench guys with like 4 beautiful women surrounding them. There's aeroplanes flying over. What? And then it'll give like a tagline about why drinking alcohol is cool and why it's whatever. And again, I want to reiterate, I've not got a stick up my ass. I drank heavily, and I've had some fantastic nights over in my 20s and my 30s, But if I had all the information that I have now, this isn't like a hindsight thing of, I wish I'd have stopped 15 years ago, because I probably wouldn't have done 15 years ago. However, if I had the exact data and the science and what it's actually doing to my health, I would have changed, because I did change when I stopped doing coke. I did change when I stopped smoking, because I understood exactly what it's doing to my body. So if you do want to perform better, and even better in relationships, even better at work, even better in the gym, stop drinking. It's the first thing I'd suggest, because unfortunately, you'll see it as sponsorships on football shirts. You'll see it sponsorship at halftime, adverts at halftime on your favorite programs, all around booze. People talking on radio shows at 7 a.m. Oh, a bit hungover from last night. Oh, but you've got to have a drink on a Wednesday night. All this shit. It's the vernacular that's attached to it that's causing most of the issue. So I'm all for live and let live. Drink vodka till you pass out every night. I don't give a shit. But I don't like the glorifying of it. And I don't like the fact that it's advertised so outwardly. Because imagine if Carling did an advert that was Big Dave in his vest and his pants around 8 beers and an empty kebab box. I don't think many people would be doing it, or having an argument with his partner, or throwing up in a toilet, or starting a fight with a bouncer. It's not quite as sexy, but that's the reality for a lot of people.
And just to add on to that, I was thinking about, for me personally, if I could click my fingers and get rid of 80% of alcohol I drank for my life, what I know now, and if I also am less, like, we have a habit of looking back in the past in a positive way. We remember the good things, and the bad things are like, it's like, I just keep that away. So we think of these, like, I would, in an instant, I would get rid of 80% alcohol I drank. No questions asked, because I'm certain it would have led me to many more realizations in life. I'd improved my social skills. I'd be probably far ahead of where I am right now. But easy said and done. We can't go back in time, but we can affect the future. And I'm very grateful for content you make. I'm also very grateful for the people in my life who stopped drinking before me. Because if I'm honest, if it wasn't for friends in my friendship circle not drinking, probably the idea of not drinking wouldn't even come up. So it's kind of, I think it's one thing leads to another, and the positive impact can be absolutely enormous. And it's just amazing to be having these conversations. So I'm not sure if we have any comments. And to be fair, on alcohol, I'm not super surprised. I appreciate a lot of people would rather ask these questions in private. But I'm just going to double check the event now. And if not, I think we can just go with some closing remarks, basically. So, so I don't see anything that's come up. So if there's anything you'd want someone who might watch this either now or in the future take away from this, what would it be?
Take a break. Just do 30 or 60 days, and you can see all the benefits for yourself. There's so many studies on this where, okay, yes, health markers aren't as sexy, unfortunately, the most important thing we have in our life. But if I told people you'd reduce, your liver fat, for example, and you stop drinking alcohol, who gives a fuck, right? No one cares. But if I told you it's going to save you money, and it's going to make you look better, and it's going to make you feel better, and it's going to make you more present with your children, and you're going to have a better relationship with your partner, and you're going to be more productive at work, and you're going to have more energy, and you're more likely to eat healthier because of it, maybe you'd want to give it a go. If that was, ironically, if alcohol-free was a drug, it'd be the most fucking bought thing on the market. You'd be a multimillionaire if you created a pill for what alcohol-free actually does to your body. It's incredible. Your skin quality, your sleep quality, everything. I see someone this morning, and it's a fucking Friday morning, in the sauna, speaking to his mate. Oh, I'm just sweating out the booze from the night before. No, you're not. Your skin and your liver detoxes you, not the fucking heat. You can't sweat out alcohol. Doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But he's in bad shape, and again, I'm not judging him. It's not like a fat phobia thing. It's just he was in bad shape, and he was complaining that he's got no energy and he feels like shit today. And then his mate was like, "Oh, I can't wait to fire up the barbie later. Gonna have a few beers." "Oh yeah, me too, mate." I'm like, "Well, you're kidding yourself. You're kidding yourself, and you're asking yourself the wrong question." So I just asked that question to myself at the beginning, as opposed to what's wrong with it. I was like, what's right with it? And I couldn't write down any real benefit other than the fact that I like the taste of it. And because of the way that the alcohol-free beers and the products that are being made now, I can get the replica without feeling like shit. So it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. So I know there's a huge stigma attached to it. I know there's still a large boozy culture and all that, and I completely understand as to why it's there. But yeah, my content will often get a lot of comments and likes from people that are alcohol-free as well, and they want to say the benefits. You'll never get anyone on a comment on LinkedIn going, "Mate, I've got a drinking problem. Can you help me?" But I get loads of messages in the backdrop of people wanting to work with me because it is so taboo, and they don't want to be neglected, and they don't want to feel like the odd one out in the social circle. So yeah, for anyone that is struggling, please reach out to Matt, reach out to me, just reach out to anyone that talks about this and that has, gone through the proverbial ringer themselves and can help you transform your relationship with it. Because amazing things can happen once you stop pouring that drug down your throat. I'm telling you.
And I can fully echo that. One of the easiest ways to improve your sleep is to reduce alcohol and caffeine and sugar. These three are like the horsemen of the apocalypse when it comes to sleep. And sleep is very similar in terms of it has a bit of taboo around it as well. It's somewhat undervalued. There's a culture around sleep being for the weak, and it's just bitterly misunderstood, a bit like with alcohol. So I'm glad that we can talk about this topic. The more we do, the better. I don't think we're going to disappear. It's only get bigger and bigger. So really appreciate taking time to speak to us today. And anyone can watch the recording at a later date. And I'm sure, I think might be talking to you guys on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely.
On your podcast. I look forward to that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome. I'm going to end the stream.